Former England captain Michael Warne's called for England to bring the curtain down on Jimmy Anderson's career. Do you agree with that, or do you think that there's still a lot? I mean, he's still the level that he's at, and also what he could teach perhaps the younger members of the team that are coming through. How much value do you think he still holds?
Oh, I mean, watching him bowl here, he's been outstanding, Jimmy Anderson. He's been fantastic. The spell he bowled in Melbourne, I can't remember what day it was in Melbourne. I think it might have been day 2. That's as good as I've ever seen Jimmy Anderson bowl in Australia, and he's nearly 40. So, look, it's going to be tough to make that call on Jimmy Anderson. The only thing I'll say is, you know, if I'm ever asked by sportsmen when they say, how do you know it was time to retire, you know deep down if it is the right time or not. And I'm not saying in any way, shape or form it is Jimmy's turn or it isn't. All I'm saying is offering advice to anyone out there that's thinking about it. That is, it's better people say to you, why are you, rather than why don't you? I think and it's important to go out on top. Jimmy Anderson's bowling as well as he ever has, but for the team to move on, they've got to make that decision, and the powers to be have to make the decision, what's the best thing for English cricket? And if that means Jimmy Anderson plays for another 3-4 years, then do that. If it means he might have to finish up this summer or the summer after, or play till the end of the next Ashes series, then do that. Whatever the thought process has to be, what's the best for English cricket, and that will give you your answer, whatever that is. I'm not sure what that is. That's up to the England people in charge. But it's up to them and up to Jimmy to work that out.
Well, I've got to ask you, I was talking with Brad Howell I think, after the third test, and first thing I've got to say to you, mate, I'm not sure he's Australian, because he was far too kind and magnanimous in victory to be Australian. He was brilliant. But I asked him the question, mate, you know, in terms of this current Ashes series, are Australia really good, or are England not so good? Where's the balance between the sides?
Yeah, I think England will be disappointed with the way they've played. You know, I think they could have played a lot better. But I think Australia have played absolutely outstanding as well. I just think England have got a lot of the basics wrong. You know, selection, especially that Brisbane in the first test match. How does Stuart Broad not play that first test? What part of cricket knowledge, when you're sitting around selecting the team, when you think of the 2019 Ashes series and what Broad did to Warne, he owned him. And before the first test match, they announced Broad's not playing. How do you think David Warne felt? So there's no part of me that understands how Stuart Broad didn't play that first test match. And the selection for Adelaide, I think the selections have just been horrific, really. They haven't got any of them right. You can't drop as many catches as England have dropped, and you can't take as many wickets as they've taken off no balls. So just some of the basics that England haven't got right. And then England and Australia have played really well. So that's why the gap has been so big, because England have got the basics wrong and Australia have done so well.
Should anyone above be made culpable for that or responsible for that? Because there are lots of surrounding questions around head coach Chris Silverwood and whether or not he should stay in that role.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Joe Root is the man to captain the side. I think Joe Root should remain as captain. I think what Joe needs, though, is not sports science people, not data. He can have those people in the background, but what he needs around him is proper, hard test match players that have played, been there, know the game of cricket, can help him with tactics and strategy, can just talk cricket with him. I think that's what he really needs. And I think if you surround him with a few of those type of people with the data and sports science and everyone in the background, I think you'll see the best of Joe Root. At the moment, I'm not sure he's getting the right cricket advice. And I'm not saying that's anyone in particular. I'm just saying by the selections that I've seen here and some of the basic cricket stuff that's happened with tactics, strategy, selection, all that, you would have to say there's not enough good cricket knowledgeable people around him.
Interesting. And this question actually has come from one of our production team, and I don't want to ask it myself because I think it's really harsh. But is this the worst?
I don't have to answer it, but you can ask it.
You might enjoy answering it, actually. Is this the worst ever England team to tour Australia, is what they want to know.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, they lost the Ashes in 12 days, so it's not a record. I think Nasser Hussain's team lost it in 11. So I think that was the record.
Sorry,
I
Nasser.
don't think it's the worst team here, the worst team that's ever toured Australia, but I think it's one of the worst teams that have the decisions that have been made in pure basic cricket terms with selections. I just can't see how those selections have been so wrong. The first test match on a green seamer, 2 weeks of rain, never ever happened before in the history of Brisbane. To not pick Broad and Anderson in that test match for the reasons I spoke about before, and then to play 5 seamers in Adelaide when it was spinning square, it just didn't make any sense, it just didn't make any sense at all. So I'd have to say I've never seen an England side come over here to Australia and make such bad decisions. There's some other sides that have played worse and not played as well. But they've never made so many bad decisions re-selection.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.